Because of sexism, some people say women are paid about 20% less than men in the US. The usual counter-argument is that's not sexism because women choose lower-paying jobs and work less. But both of these are exaggerations, and the truth is a lot more complicated. First of all, it is true that there's about a 20% difference if you just compare paychecks, but that's the unadjusted difference, so it's not all because the employer is discriminating. But, spoiler alert, some of it is. So let's break down the issues. One is that more women choose fields that pay less, like teaching versus tech. Now that's not the employer's fault, but there is a root of sexism in how children are raised and what jobs are portrayed as masculine or feminine. Another factor is that women are more likely to prioritize family and a work-life balance, taking more time off and less likely to work crazy hours and go for every promotion. Again, that's not the employer's fault, but again, there is a root of sexism in how girls are raised to be more nurturing and boys are raised to be more ambitious. So this in turn means women may have less job experience or education because of work-life balance. Also, not all industries are the same. Some fields, like media, have bigger pay gaps than other fields, like biotech. And some fields, like public schools, pay teachers strictly by a chart, based on experience and education, so there is no subjective wiggle room in the salaries. Also, there's age. Young workers out of school expect more equality, and young bosses are less likely to be sexist than old bosses. So that leaves the culprit, explicit discrimination. That is, bosses who simply pay men more. But there's one sneaky shadow, and that's de facto discrimination. Let's say in a woman's first job her boss is sexist and pays her less. Then later she starts at another company and that boss is not sexist. The new boss asks what her last salary was and gives her a salary bump. But because her first salary was too low, her new salary is also too low. And neither of them realize they just continued the gender pay gap. So that's an indirect de facto discrimination. So altogether now, the adjusted pay gap based on both explicit and de facto discrimination is about 5% in the US. And the unadjusted gap is 20%, comparing just paychecks. Just a scientific footnote here, other studies have slightly different numbers because they're using different data sets, and anyone politically motivated, on both sides, will conveniently omit certain details to make their numbers look stronger. Also, there is some discrimination in hiring practices and promotions, but that's not an objective number like a salary, so that's not included in the adjusted calculation.